The monthly review of POA board actions is produced and presented by the volunteers at Tellico Village Broadcasting.
Hello, I'm Betty Purvis, and welcome to this edition of the POA Board Update. Today we have with us Bruce Johnson, the president of the POA Board. I'd like to welcome you, Bruce, to this edition.
Well, thank you, Betty. It's always a pleasure to be here.
I'm glad you're here, and I hear you have a lot to cover for the March board meeting.
Yeah, we're not covering the April workshop. We didn't have one, as you recall. We canceled. That's a good and a bad thing. It's good in that we seem like we've finally caught up because we've been so busy, but
yes.
Really excited about talking about what we did in March. So let's get started, okay?
Okay, let's begin with the HOA update.
Okay, well, first let me just tell you a little bit about what all we're going to talk about. And then you can be selective and tell me you don't want to. But basically, we're going to cover the HOA update. We're going to cover a New Villagers update. That's the first time we've done that in quite a while, and we're getting that back on our agenda, and we're looking forward to that.
Good.
We're also going to talk about Parker Owen and his finance update, and then we're going to go to golf, talk a little bit about the new things that are happening in golf. And then last but not least, we're going to cover some administrative stuff that we're doing. We're starting a couple new committees, and we're working on the long-range planning survey that was done last fall, and the fact that we'll be talking about what we're planning to do with that. So
excellent.
Got a lot to cover.
We do, as always.
Yep.
So we'll start with HOA.
Well, Ellen came in, Ellen Fox, and as always, she does an exceptional job in catching us up with what's going on with HOA. And as I've said many times, that organization is just a great organization for the village to have, and for the residents in the village. If you're not a member of the HOA, I certainly encourage you to do it and join it and be there and participate in their socials as well as their quarterly meetings. What she talked about most recently was a survey that they did, and she was excited about the survey, and the reason why is because of the numbers of people that participated. And not only did they participate, that they wrote comments. There's a section in there where they could write comments of things that were on their mind. And all these surveys that they do, and it seems like every time you turn around, we're getting a survey, whether it's from HOA or POA, but these surveys are done in such a way that they help us manage the village. They provides us information.
Important input.
Exactly. And in this one, there was over almost 1,500 homeowners that participated. Wow. And the good thing about it is they took the time, over 700 of them took the time to put comments in. Now those comments were, as you can imagine, all over the board. Because if you give people the opportunity, they're going to take it, and that's what happened. So Ellen and her group in the HOA, they're parceling those out to the people that need to respond to them. And she gave us, the POA, quite a bit, because as you well know, there's a lot of people that confuse the HOA and the POA, and a lot of those were questions that were asked to the HOA that should have come to us, and we will take the time and we'll answer those, and those answers probably will be put out and answered by way of the telegram. At a minimum, they will be up on our website. So we look forward to getting to those questions, and I'm sure that HOA is looking forward to us getting them answered as well. They do have a general meeting coming up, and that's in May the 23rd. So I look forward to seeing you there. I try to attend all of those myself. A lot of good information distributed there, and so I encourage you to participate in that May 23rd.
Yes, and they're usually well attended.
Very much so, yeah.
Yes. Well, let's go on to New Villagers.
Yep, like I said earlier, New Villagers has not been coming in and updating us, but we're changing that. We've extended an invitation for them to come in and do a report. Marty Inkrot came in, and he basically said that they are simplifying their online membership and payment process. I think they're using the same process that HOA uses, and that's through Tellico Life. And so for you New Villagers out there, I encourage you to get on board with that. Saves you some money, and it opens up a portal for you to the whole village, and that the Tellico Life is really catching on with all not only HOA, POA, but all the clubs that are going. So I
Right.
strongly encourage you to use that. And I really encourage you to participate in the New Villagers and all the activities they have. You know, after having lived in the village for 13 years, some of my best friends are the guys that I met the first night that I
Absolutely.
went to New Villagers. So
That's your graduating
yeah,
class.
we're still going strong after all this time. So I encourage you to form your teams, form your relationships, reach out to other people as well. But those will be lasting relationships that you'll have while you're in the village, and probably beyond that as well. They do have a lot of activities going on in New Villagers, and I encourage you to attend their socials and sign up for them. You never know. You might be over at Asheville, you might be over in Nashville. You just don't know where you're going to be next with that group. So,
Yes.
you know, attend the socials, see what they've got, and become part of the Tellico Village life, if you will.
Yes, and explore Tennessee with them.
Exactly.
Yes. Well, let's go on to finance and Parker Owens. What did he have to say?
Well, if you've ever been to one of our board meetings, you know Parker's got a lot to say.
Yes.
And so, but Parker, he is very much into the details, and he shares them with you. And the good thing I like about it is, you know, in the meetings that we have, we open them up to the public. Once the board has heard and made comments, then we open it to the floor.
Right.
And any question is fair game. And to his credit, Parker Owen is pretty good at fielding those questions and answering them. Now, if he doesn't have an answer, he promises us, and he promises the people in the audience that he'll get back to us, and he always does that. Well, right now we have, you know, a year or so ago, we were able to settle with the work with the county and get some lots back to us
Right.
as they went through the sale at the footsteps of the courthouse, if you will, and the auction. And so we still have some of those to clean up, and especially the third-party lots that we got back. We're doing quick claim deeds, and that basically is where we get the people that had to foreclose or had to give up the lots. They sign over their rights to it so that we can then get a clean title and sell them. So we're moving forward with that. As you have seen over the last 3 years, we're selling about 50 lots a year and
Tremendous.
building about 150 homes a year.
Yes.
So we're moving out, and we're keeping on that path. And to do that, we have to clean up these lots, and mostly it's through these quick claim deeds, if you will. And so we're doing that. You also talked about water meters. You want to talk about those?
Sure, let's talk about water meters and roads.
And
How's
roads.
that?
Well, that's over in Jeff's area, but obviously it has to go through Parker, because when we spend money, you know, they bring it to the board and we have to approve it. Well, we approved the spending of money for meters.
Yes.
We're switching over from our old meters, where it required us to go around and read them, to wireless ones.
Nice.
Now that the truck drives by, and if you will, it just kind of reads the meter by driving by. And we're replacing those at about 30 meters a month. And then so we'll do all 30, and about the time that we get the last 30 done, it will be time to start over, because these things, I've always talked about planned obsolescence, but
That's
those
right.
meters don't last forever. So this is a continuing thing where we're changing out meters all the time, but Jeff and his team are on top of that. The board basically received the information, agreed, and so we're moving out with those meter changes. Roads, you know, we have 110 miles of roads.
We have a lot of
and
roads.
we have some roads that are more heavily traveled than others, and they take a lot of abuse, but other ones, the sunlight, as much as you wouldn't understand, just really is bad on roads. And so a group of our ad hoc committee to the Peace Act several years ago started working with a group over in Nashville, and they came up with a product called HA5.
Oh,
And if you've been by the fire department, you've seen truck parked out there with big letters on the side, HA5. It's the solution that they put down on the road that preserves it, rejuvenates it, if you will. And so every year we're going to be doing some of that to all of our roads, a little bit at a time, neighborhood at a time. And so, you know, it's a new product for us. We have a learning curve that we went through. The good thing about it is that the company warrants that. We had some flake in this past month or so as a result of the HA5 being put down on a road that was moist, but they'll come back and they'll fix that, and then we've learned. So this year you're going to see us doing the HA5 earlier in the year and not so late in the fall, so that we won't run into the same problem, but we're getting there. We also are in the process of doing a study of our roads. You know, seems like every time we turn around we're doing a study. I remember when I first came on the board myself, we had done a study with Jacobs Engineering, and they told us that we need to do some work and that basically our roads were in good shape. Then Ken Holland and Charles Queener went out and did some work as part of an ad hoc committee, and they found that there's some new products that we ought to be trying and some new methods that we ought to be doing, and we've included that in our process. But now we want to take an overall look at it and say, okay, we know what to do now, which roads need it and when do they need it. So recently we awarded a contract, and that contract basically is to a company out of Knoxville, as I recall, and they go around, drive every road, and they take pictures, they evaluate, and they're going to score our roads, evaluate and score our roads in such a way that there'll be like either 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or A, B, C, D or something that tells us these are A roads, B roads, C roads, and then those roads, they will tell us when we need to do what. We need to preserve them, we need to pave them, we need to mill them, etc. And so if you see these trucks driving around, don't think that they're trying to case the neighborhood. They're actually doing some work for the POA, and you'll see on their side, I believe it's SME or something to that effect on the side. Those are the trucks that are under contract with us, taking pictures and doing, and they will be, if needed, doing some core drilling down to see how structurally sound the road is. So that's going on now, and it was approved by the board, and the contract was awarded, and I've actually seen the trucks out there on the highways, on our roads already. So we're moving on. A good friend of mine that was on the board 2 years ago keeps wanting me to remind everybody that you know, why we're doing this, that this is an orderly process that we've been through, where we started years ago looking at the roads, and each time that we do a study, it's putting in place a little bit more effort, and this last one is going to help us, as I said, to figure out what we needed to do to the roads when, and also how much money we need to start setting aside so that we can pay for it, because we don't want to go out and get a loan to have to pay for our roads. We pay for them ourselves, if you will.
Great.
So that's what those trucks are all about. Yeah, it is.
It is. So I do hear we have a new controller.
Yes, we do. His name is Kevin Ellsworth.
Okay.
You know, I was able to participate in the interview process myself, and I was, you know, excited to talk to him, and I'm glad he took the job. We look forward to having Kevin on board with us. He comes and he's well qualified. Before his Boards Club of America work, he was heavily involved in pharmaceuticals, a CEO, you know, a CFO, and so he comes with good credentials, and we look forward to putting him to work.
Great. Welcome, Kevin.
Yes.
All right. The golf department. Jim West and Wells McClure came in and gave their story.
Yes, they did. You know, one of the things that we started last year with an ad hoc golf committee with Mike Colicone and Pat White working those, was to find out how we can raise more revenue, but more importantly, how we can get more people on the golf course. That's the three great amenities that we have. Beautiful. Just to be out there is something else.
Yes.
But we challenged Jim West and his staff to come up with different ways that we can, non-traditional, if you will, to get people on the golf course. And they're looking at all kinds of things. They're looking at like maybe frisbee golf. They're looking at a thing called chip, putt, suds, and strings event, and that's
Suds.
Suds. Well, you could just about imagine what that is. And the strings is the music, obviously. And so they're looking at you know, having afternoon, evening type events so that we can get more people out on the course and have fun. We're looking at doing par 3 tournaments. We're looking at doing tournaments to honor certain people like Denny Palmer that works down at the Tenacity Pro
Okay.
Shop, and
Yeah.
so they're looking at all kinds of ways that we can do that. One of the ways they're doing it is to look at providing unlimited play for people that don't live in the village. You know, village people are morning people generally. They like to finish up by after lunch or whatnot.
Right.
It leaves the golf course open. So we started something last year of reduced pay for afternoon play,
Right.
as well as unlimited golf
How's
for
that
afternoon.
going?
It's going well, but at the same time, if we're not going to put our own people on the course, we'll put other people on there,
Sure.
and so people need to understand that if you you need to support our golf courses. Because we basically want those to be as self-sufficient as we possibly can get them. So
Absolutely.
we're looking at all kinds of ways to fill up the course, if you will.
And they've improved. The courses just look beautiful.
Oh
out
man,
there.
well that's where Wells, McClure, and the other ones come in. They do an excellent job in the last several years. They've redone our sand traps and come up with new ways of putting this new concrete stuff in below it, the sand, so they don't wash near as much, and we've cut them down so they're not they're safe to walk in and out of. So they do a great job. The grass is always green on the greens. It's pretty, and
Yeah.
my father-in-law, who is from Maryland, was here this past weekend, and he walked, as we drove by, he could see the Bermuda fairways, and he said, I bet these things are just beautiful in the summer. And I said, you just wouldn't believe how beautiful they are. And even now, they may be brown, but they're good and thick, and so you can play golf in the wintertime and early or late fall, early spring, late fall, and still hit the ball, have a nice cushion. So those guys do a great job of keeping them up,
Yes.
Wells and his team.
Yes.
The other teams, each course has a superintendent, and they do a great job of keeping them
Yes.
up. Yeah.
Yeah. We've improved greatly over the years, every year.
Yes, we have.
Okay, next up are the two projects that everybody is watching, Toka and Katie. Let's start
More
with
eyes
Toka.
on those projects than we could ever imagine possible.
right.
But that's a good thing, because we've said from the very minute that we started planning those, we went through our process. We've been very open with those. We want everybody to hold our feet to the fire, and we are holding ourselves. We want to bring these projects in on time and within budget. And
Yes.
so we'll see how that goes. Been a lot of rain this spring, but
yes.
we have looked at the schedules, reevaluated the schedules, and right now they tell us that we're still on track for Katie being finished in July. It's July 26th and November 25th, I believe,
Okay.
for Toka was November 25th. But if you've been down to Katie, then you'll see that all four walls are up.
Oh.
They may this week start putting on trusses, I believe. So once that happens, and once we get a roof on it, it's going to go like gangbusters. And so the people down at Katie are probably saying, well, where's our portico? Because we're involved in that. I was just talking to the contractors and Jeff Gagley, and that's going to be done after we get the building. But not to worry, you are going to have a portico. It's going to be there, and it's going to be
Okay.
just what we had hoped it would be. Toka, on the other hand, a little bit more involved. They finished the footings. We had a delay from electrical wire that LUB had under the corner of our building that didn't have conduit, so they had to take that out. In the meantime, we've been doing other things, and the footers have been poured. I noticed yesterday in the rain that the gravel base is down, so it won't be long. They'll be pouring the foundation, I mean not the foundation, but the pad for that, and then the steel work will begin. So every day is something different over there. So for you guys that are out there watching it,
see it.
you can see it. Actually, you've heard of watching the grass grow. Well, we're watching these buildings grow like
That's
they're
right.
just coming up like crazy.
Yeah. An interest for all of us.
Yes, they are.
I understand we have a new committee called the Political Education Committee. And what can you share with us that tells us what this committee is about to do?
Well, I can. We refer to it as the PEC. Everybody's into acronyms,
Yes.
but it is the Political Education Committee. And what we're trying to do there is, over the time that I've been here, and especially the time that I've been on the board, we've been working with the county to see what the county can do for the residents in this area. We have like close to 8,500 residents, and we give a lot. I mean, we give a lot in terms of not just our taxes and the facility tax that we pay for the schools, but we give them a lot. We give an awful lot, and we get very
hours.
Yes, we do. We get very little in return. And what we've told is, we understand that you guys are concerned about, there's a law that says they cannot donate to a 501c4 organization, which we are, but there's other ways that they can help the residents. You know, we're 8,000 strong, and we are part of the county.
Yes.
And we support this county,
and we're the largest part.
Yes. And so what this PEC is going to do is it's going to do two things. It's going to start working with the local governments as well as the state to see if there are ways that they can support the residents of this part of the county. And then also the second part is that they're going to work with the people here in the village to let the people in the village know how the local governments work and what we think that we can do to help move this along. So we have started a dialogue with the county. We met, myself and Mike Tellico met with the commissioner, Henry Cullen, as well as Buddy Bradshaw, our county mayor. We had a good exchange of information. We understand where they come from. I'd like to hope that they understand where we come from, and then I'd like to think that we can work together to make some things happen. And we offered them about 8 ways that we think that they can support us that are within the law, and so we'll work with them and see what we can get. We will also inform people, especially as we get closer to elections, as to here's what the people that you're voting for believe in, and here's what they think about Tellico Village. So it's an educational process, and so we're in the process now of, we have the committee's been approved. We have about 20 people's names that we're looking at, and we will actually be selecting the first people that will be working on this committee very shortly, and so we hope to get that started and get it underway.
Great, great. Yep. This is a wonderful committee to start. We give millions of dollars to the county and get very little, so I'm glad we're moving ahead with this.
Yeah, me too.
Me too. Okay, so is there one more thing you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, just one more. I just want to give you a heads up that the board agreed to delay the long-range planning strategic plan.
Okay.
They were so close to getting that finished. We asked them if they would delay that a couple of months, and the reason why is 2 big pieces of information that we think that they need to include in their strategic plan haven't been done. They're in the process of being done. They're not complete. One is, we talked about earlier, is the road study. We feel like we have to have that information so that we can then see what the impact to reserve accounts, et cetera, will be. So they'll have that information to factor into their conclusions, as well as the REC study. You know, we commissioned a study. I think we approved it last fall, and then the study is called 110% consolidation master plan. And what they're doing there is to see where we need to go with REC over the next 5 to 10 to 15 years. And so that study is well underway, and they'll finish both of those in the June time frame. And then shortly after that, we think the long-range planning will be able to factor that into their conclusions, and we'll move forward with that. But I know a lot of people participated in that survey and then that study that they did, and they've had focus groups. They've done such a great job. They meet sometimes as many as four days a week. They've been working hard on it. So hate to delay it, but hate to put something out there that's incomplete. So we've decided that we would ask them to delay their study results until like July time frame. So that's where we are with that. So if you're sitting there with waiting with bated breath on the results of the long-range planning study and their master plan they're going to come up with, or their strategic plan, then I encourage you to wait just a little for them, but we'll get there.
Yep. 2 good additions to the study.
I think so.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, thank you, Bruce, for being with us and all the detail you bring to our program and the overview for all of us to understand what's going on.
Well, all the information I share with you is the reasons why our meetings go so long. I get raked over the coals. It's like, why can't you cut these meetings down? And I said, well, what part of this information do you not want? So yeah, it's a lot of information. We spend a lot of time at it, and I don't mind sharing it with you. So look forward to doing it month after month.
Month after month. Well, we thank you, Bruce, for being here.
Sure.
And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being with us for another of the POA updates. This is Betty Purvis for the Tellico Village Broadcasting.